The Last Free Man. Chapter 10. Into the Abyss. The reinforced door stood ajar, a dark invitation into the unknown. Beyond it, silence. Not the controlled, calculated stillness of Harmony's world. This was different. This was the absence of life. Wren hesitated before stepping forward. Security feeds cut off beyond this point. Sable scoffed. That's comforting. Arik exhaled sharply. No turning back now. I swallowed the lump in my throat and followed. We moved in tight formation, weapons drawn, nerves taut. The corridor beyond the door was narrow and dimly lit, the overhead lights flickering like a dying heartbeat. The walls were different here. No sterile steel, no polished white panels, just exposed concrete, cracked and decayed. As if this part of the facility had been abandoned. The deeper we went, the colder it became. I hugged my arms to my chest, trying to shake the sensation creeping over my skin. It wasn't just temperature. It was something else. Something wrong. Sable noticed it too. Feels like walking into a grave. Wren's fingers hovered over her slate. No data records for this section. Arik frowned. Then why does it exist? Wren didn't answer, but she didn't have to. Because as we turned the corner, we saw the first sign of life. Or what was left of it. The body was twisted and unnatural, pressed against the far wall. Flesh stretched too thin over brittle bones, skin paper pale and sunken. The face was frozen in a silent scream. But that wasn't what made my stomach turn. It was the marks carved into its flesh. Numbers. A code. I shuddered. They tagged them like data entries. Arik knelt beside the corpse, his jaw tightening. No sign of decomposition. I blinked. Meaning? This happened recently. Silence stretched between us. Sable exhaled slowly. Someone else is down here. I didn't ask if she meant alive or waiting, because I already knew. The corridor stretched into darkness ahead. Whatever we were looking for, whatever Project Dawn had hidden, we were about to find it, and I wasn't sure we'd survive the answer. The corridor stretched before us, narrowing into a darkened passageway that felt like it had been carved out of something far older than the rest of the facility. The deeper we went, the more it felt like we were trespassing into something unnatural, something that had been buried for a reason. Arik kept his rifle raised, his movements precise, measured. Sable was less composed. I don't like this, she muttered. No one does, Wren said flatly. The walls were lined with strange markings, etched deep into the concrete. Some faded, others fresh. Not words, symbols. Somehow, I knew they weren't made by Harmony. What the hell is this place? I whispered. Wren's fingers moved over her slate. There's no official record of this level. Arik's jaw tightened. Then how do you know where we're going? I don't. She didn't look up when she said it. For some reason, that was worse. A metallic groan echoed through the corridor. We froze. The sound didn't come from ahead, it came from behind. Sable spun, weapon ready. Tell me that was structural decay. It wasn't. The shadows shifted. The lights flickered. And then a door at the far end of the hall slid open on its own. No code, no override. Just open. I exhaled slowly. That's not normal. Arik nodded grimly. Nothing down here is Ren hesitated before stepping forward. If we're going in, we need to move now. We're running out of time. Arik led the way. I wasn't sure if we were stepping into a forgotten lab or a trap. Inside, the room was massive, far larger than anything we'd seen in Sector 1. The ceiling stretched impossibly high, filled with cables that disappeared into the shadows. Rows of suspended pods lined the far wall, their surfaces covered in frost. Something inside them moved, breathing. Sable muttered a curse. They're alive. No one corrected her, because she was right. I stepped forward, my heart hammering. The glass was fogged over, but I could make out a silhouette inside. A figure. Human, but different. The markings from the hallway were carved into its skin. Then, the breathing changed. It was faster now, erratic, like something was waking up. Arik pulled me back. We need to go, now. But Ren didn't move. She was staring at the last pod in the row, the one with a nameplate still attached. One word, one name, Vale. I barely had time to react before the alarms started screaming. The pods hissed open, and we were no longer alone. The alarms screamed through the lab, echoing off the steel and concrete like the wail of something ancient and dying. The pods were opening. The frozen bodies inside were waking up. Arik shoved me backward just as the first pod hissed open, its glass panel sliding away with an unnatural smoothness. A thick mist of cryogenic vapor spilled onto the floor, curling like smoke. Inside, something moved. I barely registered Ren's sharp inhale before the figure inside the pod took its first breath. A ragged, gasping inhale. Not mechanical, not controlled, but desperate. Sable swore under her breath. Tell me this is not about to go full nightmare. Ren was frantically typing into her slate. We need to shut this down before they all wake up. Arik's grip on his weapon tightened. Too late. The figure in the first pod stirred again. Its body jerked unnaturally, muscles spasming as if adjusting to movement after centuries of stillness. Then, it opened its eyes. I wasn't sure what I had been expecting, but not that. The pupils were wrong, not human, not entirely. The irises shimmered, shifting between colors like fractured light through broken glass. Then, it looked at me, and I knew. This was no ordinary experiment. This was something else. Something Harmony had been trying to erase. The other pods were unlocking. Row after row, more mist spilled out onto the floor as the frozen bodies inside began stirring. The nameplate on the last pod still glowed faintly. Vale. Arik stepped toward it, jaw tight. This is what we came for. Ren didn't move. Her voice was barely a whisper. This isn't a prison. We turned to her. She swallowed hard. It's a tomb. The first subject moved. Fast. Too fast. Sable fired first. The shot slammed into the figure's shoulder, but it didn't stagger. Didn't bleed. Didn't react. Then, it turned its head toward her. Slowly. Methodically. Like it was studying her. Arik raised his rifle. We need to move, now. Ren's voice trembled. I don't think we can. Because behind us, every other pod had opened, and we were completely surrounded. The silence after the alarms was worse. For one breathless second, nothing moved. Then, they did. The first subject lurched forward, its limbs jerking in unnatural, broken movements. The others followed, not like soldiers, not like prisoners, like puppets, still remembering how to move. Sable fired. The gunshot echoed through the chamber, slamming into the closest figure's chest. The impact knocked it back, but it didn't fall. It just kept coming. Arik was already moving. Fall back. We turned toward the exit, but it had sealed. Ren cursed. They locked us in. Sable fired again, this time aiming for the head. The bullet hit home. The figure's body twitched, shuddered. Then, in one slow, unnatural motion, it stood back up. My pulse spiked. They don't die. Arik grabbed Ren's wrist, pulling her toward the control panel. We need that door open, now. She was already working. The system's overriding me. Something's controlling it remotely. I forced myself to breathe. Harmony? Ren's expression was tight. Worse. The subjects were getting faster. Whatever had kept them still was wearing off. One of them moved first. It didn't run, didn't leap. It simply blinked out of sight. Sable's gun jerked to the side. Where did it? I barely had time to react before the thing reappeared behind her. I didn't think. I moved. My shoulder slammed into her back, knocking her aside. The creature's hand clawed through the air where she had been standing. Sable hit the ground hard, but she recovered fast. Okay, that's cheating. Arik spun, gun raised. They're learning. The pod labeled VALE hissed. The locks were releasing. I turned to Ren. Tell me you've got that door open. Almost. Not fast enough. The first subject took another silent step forward. I could see it now. The irises flickering, the bones shifting beneath its skin. This wasn't just an experiment. This was the next stage of something. Something we weren't meant to survive. The door controls flashed green. Ren grabbed my wrist. Run! I didn't need to be told twice. Sable covered our retreat, emptying the last of her rounds into the advancing figures. It barely slowed them. Arik shoved the door open. We sprinted through just as the pod behind us fully unsealed. The last thing I saw was Vale's eyes opening, and then the door slammed shut. I gasped for breath, hands shaking. Sable cursed. What the hell were those things? Ren didn't answer. She was staring at the console. I stepped toward her. Ren? She pointed to the display. My stomach dropped. Because it wasn't just the pods inside that had opened. It was the entire floor. The screen flickered, the emergency red glow reflecting off Ren's face. Every cell in the lower levels had been unlocked, and we had just trapped ourselves inside with whatever was waking up. Arik swore under his breath. We have to get out. Now. Sable checked her ammo. Yeah? And go where? Ren's fingers danced over the console, trying to override the system. The security failsafe should be triggering a lockdown, but something's stopping it. Something? I asked. Her throat bobbed. Someone. A chill ran through me. Harmony had erased Project Dawn from history, but someone was still controlling it. Then, the lights cut out. Total darkness. For half a second, there was nothing. No sound, no movement, just the quiet, suffocating void. Then, a whisper. Software. echoing from somewhere deep inside the lab. "Help me." The voice was small, female. It came from the darkness beyond the console room. Arik gripped his weapon. "That's not Vale." Ren's eyes were wide. "It could be a survivor." Sable exhaled sharply. "Or it could be a trap." The whisper came again. Closer. I gritted my teeth, forcing down the dread clawing at my chest. If there's a chance Vale is still alive, then we move. Arik nodded. Ren swallowed, but she didn't argue. I turned toward the dark corridor. "Stay close." Then we stepped into the abyss. The hallway was cold, the air thick with something metallic. I didn't want to guess if it was blood or something worse. The whisper had stopped, but we all felt it. We weren't alone. Sable's grip tightened around her weapon. "This place is wrong." Arik kept his voice low. "Stay focused." A flickering light appeared ahead. A single open pod in the middle of the corridor. I could see movement inside. My heart hammered. "Vale?" The figure inside shifted. Then, with a sharp, gasping inhale, it opened its eyes and whispered, "Run." The hall exploded into movement. The other cells were opening. Something crawled out of the darkness. And this time, it wasn't whispering, it was screaming.
That's it for this chapter of The Last Free Man. If you're enjoying the story and want to see what happens next, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps get this audiobook out to more people. New chapters drop every week, so make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. You won't want to miss what's coming next. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think of the story so far. And if you know someone who would love this world, share this video with them. The Resistance needs all the help it can get. Until next time, stay free.